Let me share something with you that most people never stop to consider. Every single moment, whether you realize it or not, you're engaged in a silent, ongoing conversation with yourself about who you are and what you believe is possible for your life. This conversation isn't just idle chatter. It's not harmless background noise. It's the very foundation upon which your entire experience is built. Here's what most people don't realize. Reality is not responding to what you want, or what you wish, or what you hope for. Reality is reflecting what you consistently accept as true about yourself and your world. It's not about what you're trying to do. It's about what you're being, what you're assuming, and what you're expecting at the deepest level. Think about this. Imagine you're the luckiest person in the world. Not just someone who occasionally has a stroke of good fortune, but someone for whom things just seem to work out, time and time again. Doors open, opportunities appear, people help you, circumstances rearrange themselves. Most will look at that person and say, they're just lucky. But let me explain what's really happening. That person, whether consciously or not, has come to accept a certain identity, a certain way of being. They walk in the assumption of luck, of favor, of things working out. And because they accept this as their truth, the world shapes itself to fit that expectation. It's not the world acting on them. It's their inner state being projected outward, drawing in the evidence to support what they believe. The law of assumption, as Neville Goddard taught, is always operating. It doesn't matter if you know it or if you believe in it or if you're trying to use it. You're always assuming something. You're always feeling something about yourself and your life. And those feelings, those assumptions, are setting the tone for your experience. The moment you accept an idea as true, not just intellectually but emotionally in your gut, you begin to live from that state. And the world somehow, in ways you can't always explain, begins to reflect that back to you. This is the principle of living in the end. You don't wait for things to change so you can feel differently. You feel now, as if your desire is already fulfilled. You walk, you speak, you think, as if you already are the luckiest person in the world. And the outer world takes its cue from your inner world. Consider this. Most people are waiting for the evidence, waiting for the sign, waiting for some outer change so they can finally feel confident, finally feel secure, finally feel like they belong. But it doesn't work that way. You don't become confident by waiting for confidence to show up. You become confident by assuming confidence, by wearing it, by acting as if it's already yours. The moment you move from waiting to deciding, from hoping to knowing, everything begins to change. Your actions, your words, and even your body language shift. People respond differently to you. Circumstances start to bend in your favor, not because you forced anything, but because you finally stopped reacting and started assuming. You stopped letting the world tell you who you are, and you began to tell the world who you are. Let me give you a simple example. Think about the difference between someone who walks into a room hoping to be liked and someone who walks in assuming they're already welcomed, already appreciated, already seen as valuable. The first person is looking around for cues, watching faces, waiting for permission to feel at ease. The second person is already at ease. They bring their own energy with them. They're not seeking approval. They're living from the assumption that they belong. And what happens? 9 times out of 10, the world mirrors that back. People tend to treat you as you treat yourself. The world responds to your self-assumption. Now let's go deeper into what's really happening beneath the surface. Most people believe their identity is shaped by their past, by their circumstances, by the way others have treated them. But that's not the case. Your identity is formed by what you repeatedly accept as true about yourself. It's not what happened to you. It's what you've decided to identify with. Here's what most people don't realize. You're not a passive observer in your own life. You're not at the mercy of circumstances. You're the one who assigns meaning, who labels yourself, who says, this is who I am, and this is how my life goes. And the moment you consistently assume a new identity, the world begins to reshape itself to match that assumption. Think about the idea of being the luckiest person in the world. Most people think luck is random, something that happens to a chosen few. But it's not random. It's an inner stance, a way of relating to life. The person who assumes they're lucky notices opportunities others miss. They take chances others pass by. They walk through doors others don't even see. Why? Because they expect things to work out for them. They move through the world with a quiet certainty. Things go my way. And because they expect it, they see it. Their mind is tuned to look for evidence to support their assumption. And the world, as if by magic, brings them more of what they already believe. Here's the truth. Your outer results always follow your inner belief. It's not the other way around. You don't get lucky and then start believing you're lucky. You believe it first. You assume it. You live in the end, and the evidence begins to show up. Let me explain what's really happening. When you accept an idea as true, you feel it. You embody it. Your body language changes. Your tone of voice changes. You move differently. You take actions that are in alignment with your new belief. People pick up on this, often at a subconscious level. Circumstances arrange themselves. Opportunities come your way. Seemingly random events all line up to support your inner stance, but it's not random. It's the law at work. Consider this. If you walk through life assuming things never work out for you, your mind will scan for evidence to confirm that. You'll overlook chances, you'll dismiss possibilities, and you'll unconsciously sabotage yourself. But if you walk through life assuming you're the luckiest person alive, your mind filters reality differently. You see the chance encounter as a blessing. You notice the open window. You respond to the subtle nudge. Your whole being is tuned to luck, to favor, to serendipity, and the world shows you what you expect to see. This is how patterns are created, by repeated assumptions. People unknowingly create the same loops, the same outcomes again and again, because they haven't changed the underlying story they tell themselves. You can change the pattern. You don't have to keep living on repeat. But you have to start with a new assumption, a new identity, not by trying to force results, but by accepting a new truth about yourself. The moment you do, everything begins to shift. But you must persist. You must return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must live in the end, not just visit it from time to time. Let me explain why so many people struggle with this. It's because they're used to reacting to life instead of directing it. They see something they don't like, and they let that become the truth they accept. They say, well, this is just how things are for me. But the moment you accept a limit, you make it real in your experience. You don't have to fight against what you see. You don't have to wrestle with circumstances. You simply have to assume a new truth, a new identity, and persist in it, regardless of what's showing up right now. Think about this. Every morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can step back into the old story, or you can step into the new one. You can wake up as the person who things never work out for, or you can wake up as the luckiest person in the world. You decide, you assume, and your day unfolds according to that inner stance. The world reacts to what you bring to it. It's not your job to fix the world, to convince others, or to fight circumstances. It's your job to assume your state, to feel the wish fulfilled, and let that reality unfold through you. Let me share a simple exercise with you. Tonight, before you go to sleep, practice what Neville called SATS, state akin to sleep. As you're drifting off, imagine in vivid detail what it would feel like to be the luckiest person in the world. Not just a fleeting thought, but a real feeling. See yourself in situations where things go your way. Feel the ease, the confidence, the quiet certainty. Hear the words of praise. See the doors opening. Let it become real to you, so real that you fall asleep in that state. That feeling, carried into sleep, will begin to impress itself upon your subconscious, and your days will start to take on the shape of your nights. Here's what most people don't realize. You don't have to know how it will happen. You don't have to figure out the details. You just have to assume the end. You have to feel now the way you intend to feel when your wish is fulfilled. That's your only job. The rest will take care of itself. Events will move, people will appear, circumstances will shift, all to support your new state. But you must persist. You must not go back to the old story, the old identity, when things seem slow or unchanged. You must remain faithful to your assumption. It's not about doing more, trying harder, or pushing. It's about being the luckiest person, right here, right now, in your inner world. Consider this contrast, reacting versus choosing. Most people live in reaction. They see something happen, and they react emotionally, mentally, physically. They let the outer world dictate their inner state. But you can choose. You can choose to respond from your assumption, not from appearances. You can choose to feel the wish fulfilled, even if nothing has changed outwardly. The moment you do, you move from being a victim of circumstance to being the author of your story, and reality begins to take its cue from you. Let me take you a step further. Revision, a powerful tool Neville taught, shows you just how much authority you have over your experience. When something happens that you don't like, most people replay it in their minds, feeling regret, disappointment, or anger. But you don't have to accept that version of events. You can revise it. You can imagine the situation as you wish it had gone. Feel the relief or joy as if it really happened that way, and let that new memory take root. The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what actually happened and what you vividly imagine and accept as true. When you revise, you're not denying reality. You're choosing which reality you accept as yours. Here's what most people don't realize. Every time you mentally replay an event, you're giving it more power. You're reinforcing it as part of your story. But when you revise, you're saying, no, this is not my truth. This is not who I am. You're choosing a new outcome. And that new outcome, when accepted and felt, begins to shape your future experiences. This is not fantasy. This is law. Reality is always reflecting what you most consistently accept as true about yourself and your life. Let me give you an example. Suppose you had a setback, a rejection, a missed opportunity, something that felt like bad luck. Instead of accepting it as evidence that you're unlucky, that things don't work for you, stop and revise. In your imagination, see the event going the way you desired. Feel the satisfaction, the relief, the joy as if it actually happened. Fall asleep in that feeling. Make it real inside. And watch how quickly the world begins to mirror your new assumption. Sometimes the very people or circumstances involved will return in a new way. Sometimes new opportunities will appear out of the blue. But always, your inner world is the cause, and your outer world is the effect. Think about this. If you keep telling yourself the same story, you'll keep living the same life. But if you change the story, if you revise the past in your imagination and assume a new identity, you change everything. You become someone who things work out for, someone who is favored, who is guided, who is lucky. And that assumption, lived in and felt, draws the evidence to itself. The world cannot help but reflect back what you persistently assume. Consider the difference between seeking and having. Most people are always seeking luck, seeking confidence, seeking validation. But the moment you accept that you already are what you desire, you move from seeking to having, from lack to fulfillment, from waiting to living in the end. And your reality, obedient as it is to your inner state, adjusts to match your new stance. Now let's talk about the power of imagination. Most people think imagination is just a tool for daydreaming, for escaping reality. But it's so much more than that. Imagination is the creative force behind everything you experience. Everything that exists in your world began as an idea, a picture, a feeling in someone's imagination. Here's what most people don't realize. You're always imagining. You're always picturing something, feeling something, anticipating something. The question is, are you doing it deliberately, or are you letting old patterns, old fears, old doubts run the show? Imagination creates reality, not just in some far-off mystical sense, but in the most practical way. The images you hold, the feelings you nurture, the scenes you rehearse in your mind, they are the seeds from which your experiences grow. If you imagine yourself as unlucky, as overlooked, as someone who things don't work out for, you will find endless evidence to support that. But if you imagine yourself as the luckiest person alive, as favored, as guided, as someone who things always work out for, you will find the evidence for that too. Your mind is always looking to prove you right. Let me share something with you. The most confident people you know are not confident because they've never failed, or because everything has always gone their way. They're confident because they've learned to assume confidence, to imagine themselves as successful, as capable, as worthy. They see themselves winning even before the world gives them the prize. They feel the wish fulfilled, and because they carry that feeling, the world cannot help but reflect it. Consider this. The moment you use your imagination deliberately, you become the director of your experience, not just an actor following someone else's script. When you imagine, vividly and feelingly, the state you desire, you plant a seed in the subconscious. And if you persist, if you nurture that feeling, the outer world reorganizes itself to match your inner picture. This is not about forcing results or micromanaging details. It's about being the person you choose to be, in imagination first, and then in feeling, and finally in experience. Let me give you a simple metaphor. Imagine your mind as a projector, and your life as the screen. Most people try to change the screen. They try to fix outer circumstances, adjust the world, persuade others. But the picture keeps coming back because they haven't changed the film in the projector. The moment you change the inner picture, the outer world has no choice but to reflect that new image. You don't have to struggle with the screen. You just have to change the film. Let's go a little deeper into what it means to live in the end. Living in the end means you don't wait for evidence before you allow yourself to feel the way you want to feel. You don't wait to see the prize before you celebrate the victory. You don't wait for the world to prove to you that you're lucky or confident or worthy. You assume it now, you feel it now, You let it become so real in your imagination that the line between inner and outer begins to blur. Here's what most people don't realize. The state you occupy in imagination is the state you eventually occupy in experience. Your task is not to get. Your task is to accept, to feel, to be. The moment you feel as if your wish is already fulfilled, you move into alignment with that reality. The world begins to bend to your new assumption. Events arrange themselves. People respond differently. Opportunities appear that you could not have planned for. But none of this happens while you're waiting or hoping or doubting. It happens when you decide, when you assume, when you feel now what you desire to feel. Let me share something with you. Confidence is not the result of success. Confidence is the cause of success. The confident person carries themselves differently, speaks differently, expects differently. They're not arrogant or boastful. They're quietly certain. They know deep down that things will work out for them. And that inner knowing, that inner assumption, draws the evidence to itself. The moment you assume confidence, the world begins to reflect it. The moment you assume luck, you start to see the evidence of luck all around you. But you have to persist. You have to make the feeling more real than the facts. Think about this. When you live in the end, when you walk as if you are already the luckiest person in the world, you stop looking for signs and start living from the sign. You become the evidence you were waiting to see. The world cannot help but respond. It's law. The inner state always precedes the outer event. Consider the difference between doubt and knowing. Doubt is always waiting for proof, always looking for confirmation. Knowing needs no proof. Knowing is the quiet certainty that comes from having already accepted the truth within. When you know, you move differently. You don't argue, you don't defend, you don't chase, you simply be. And being is magnetic. Being draws the evidence to itself. Let me explain something that will make this clear. Being always comes before doing. Most people try to change their life by doing more, by taking more action, by trying to force results. But action on its own is empty unless it's the natural expression of a new state of being. It's not the action that creates the result. It's the state of being from which the action flows. The moment you assume a new identity, new actions arise naturally. You don't have to force them. You don't have to struggle. You simply find yourself doing what the luckiest person in the world would do, because that's who you now are. Consider this. If you try to act confident while feeling insecure, your actions will betray you. People will sense the gap between what you're doing and who you're being. But if you assume confidence, if you feel it, embody it, live in it, your actions will be effortless. You'll say the right words, take the right steps, make the right choices, not because you're trying to, but because you're being the person who those actions belong to. Here's what most people don't realize. Assumptions are self-fulfilling. The moment you accept an idea as true, you begin to act, speak, and move in ways that make it real. Your world, in turn, responds to those actions, confirming your assumption. It's a loop, but you can change the loop at any time by changing your assumption. Let me share a practical way to use this. Start your day by asking yourself, if I really was the luckiest person alive, how would I move through this day? What would I expect? How would I respond to challenges? How would I treat myself and others? Let those answers guide you. Don't force yourself to act a certain way. Simply assume the state and let your actions flow from that being. You'll find that doors open, help arrives, synchronicities occur, not because you chase them, but because you assume they belong to you. Think about this. You don't get new results by doing the same things from the same state of being. You get new results by being someone new, by assuming a new identity, by accepting a new truth about yourself. The doing becomes effortless when the being is established. Let's bring this into your daily life. Most people think confidence is something you either have or don't have, something you acquire through achievement, through validation, through praise. But confidence is a choice. It's an assumption. It's a state you occupy, not a prize you win. The moment you assume confidence, you begin to see the world through different eyes. You stop looking for reasons to doubt yourself, and you start finding reasons to trust yourself. Let me explain what's really happening. When you assume confidence, your brain begins to scan for evidence to support your new state. You remember past successes. You notice areas where you're already skilled or appreciated. You see yourself handling challenges with more ease. The world starts to mirror your new assumption. People respond to you differently. Opportunities arise that match your new state. It's not magic, it's law. The law of assumption is always operating, whether you're aware of it or not. Let me share something with you. The moment you catch yourself slipping into old doubts, old fears, or old stories, stop and revise. Don't let that old pattern take root. In your imagination, see yourself as confident, as lucky, as favored. Feel it, live in it, let it become your new normal. The more you return to this state, the more natural it becomes, and the world begins to conform. Here's what most people don't realize. You don't have to wait for outer evidence before you feel confident. You don't have to earn it. You simply assume it. You live in the end. You let the feeling of confidence become so real inside that the world cannot help but reflect it. This is how you move from seeking to having, from waiting to deciding, from reacting to choosing. Think about this. Every time you choose confidence, every time you assume luck, you're planting seeds for a new reality. Those seeds may not sprout overnight, but if you persist, if you nurture them with feeling and assumption, they will grow. Your world will change, not by chance, but by law. Now let's talk about persistence. This is where most people falter. They assume a new state for a few hours or a few days, and when the world doesn't change instantly, they slip back into the old story. But the law does not fail. The only question is, how faithful are you to your new assumption? How often do you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to the state of being the luckiest person in the world? The more you persist, the more natural it becomes. The world must conform. It has no choice. Let me share something with you. The moment you catch yourself doubting or fearing or feeling unlucky, don't criticize yourself. Don't fight the feeling. Simply return again and again to the assumption you desire. Revise the moment. Imagine it went your way. Feel the relief, the ease, the gratitude. Let that new feeling become your dominant state. Over time, the old patterns lose their power, and the new assumption becomes your new normal. Here's what most people don't realize. The world is a mirror, not a creator. It reflects, it echoes, it confirms. It does not initiate. The cause is always within. Your job is not to fight the mirror, not to argue with the reflection, but to change the image you hold inside. Persist in your assumption, and the reflection must change. Think about this. If you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You water it, you nurture it, you trust the process. The same is true with your assumptions. Plant the seed of being the luckiest person alive. Water it with feeling, with imagination, with persistence. Trust the law. The harvest is certain if you do not give up. Consider this. Every moment is a new opportunity to assume, to feel, to be. You don't have to wait for a special occasion or a perfect day or a sign from the universe. You decide, you assume, and you persist. The world will catch up. Let's explore what happens when you make this your daily practice. The more you assume the state of luck, of confidence, of favor, the more you begin to notice subtle changes in your world. People smile at you more often. Opportunities show up in unexpected ways. Challenges resolve themselves. It may seem small at first, but over time, the evidence grows. Your life takes on a new rhythm, a new ease, a new confidence, not because you forced anything, but because you changed your inner stance. Here's what most people don't realize. You don't have to announce your new identity to the world. You don't have to convince anyone. You simply assume it quietly, within yourself. The world will notice the change, even if they can't explain it. People are drawn to confidence, to ease, to certainty. They want to be around someone who knows who they are, who expects good things, who lives from a state of being rather than a state of seeking. Let me share a practical exercise. Throughout your day, pause and ask yourself, what am I assuming right now? Am I assuming things will go my way, or am I bracing for disappointment? Am I expecting to be welcomed, or am I waiting to be rejected? The moment you notice an assumption you don't want, gently replace it. Assume the state you desire. Feel it. Live in it. Let it become your new normal. Consider the difference between old patterns and new possibilities. Old patterns are just repeated assumptions, carried over from the past. New possibilities open up the moment you assume something new, the moment you decide to live in the end, to feel the wish fulfilled, to be the luckiest person in the world. Think about this. Confidence, luck, and favor are not prizes to be earned. They are states to be assumed. The moment you assume them, you become magnetic to the experiences that match your new state. This is how you move from reacting to directing, from hoping to knowing, from seeking to having. Let's look at how this shapes your relationships, your work, your health, every area of life. When you assume you are lucky, that things work out for you, that you belong, you move differently in every situation. You speak with more ease. You trust yourself more. You don't worry about being rejected or overlooked because you know at a deep level that you're favored. That knowing is felt by others. They respond to your certainty, your confidence, your ease. You become someone who people want to be around, who opportunities gravitate toward, who challenges seem to avoid. Here's what most people don't realize. Your world is always meeting you at the level of your assumption. If you assume people will like you, they tend to. If you assume opportunities will appear, they do. If you assume things will work out, they somehow do, often in ways you could never have planned. The key is to persist in your assumption, even when the outer world seems slow to catch up. Let me share something with you. The moment you step into a new identity, of luck, of confidence, of favor, the world begins to rearrange itself to support you. Old obstacles dissolve, new pathways open. People who once ignored you now notice you. Circumstances that seemed fixed now shift. But you must remain faithful to your new state. Don't let appearances pull you back to the old story. Stay in your new assumption. Live in the end. Feel the wish fulfilled. Consider this. You don't have to fix your world. You don't have to change other people. You only have to change your assumption about yourself and your life. The world will respond. It always does. It must. Let's talk about setbacks and challenges because they will arise. Most people, when faced with a setback, slip back into the old assumption. See, things never work out for me. But you have a choice. You can use revision to rewrite the story. You can imagine the challenge resolved, the obstacle removed, the setback turned into a stepping stone. You can feel the relief, the gratitude, the satisfaction as if it already happened. The more you do this, the more you train your mind to expect good, to see luck, to find favor even in the midst of difficulty. Here's what most people don't realize. Every challenge is an opportunity to assume a new state, to prove to yourself that you are indeed the luckiest person in the world. The world doesn't test you to punish you. It gives you chances to deepen your assumption, to persist in your state, to prove your authority over your experience. Let me share something with you. The person who feels lucky, who assumes favor, who expects the best, will always find a way through. They see the lesson, the blessing, the opportunity in every challenge. They don't deny difficulties, but they don't let them define their story. They revise, they assume, they persist. And the world eventually yields to their inner stance. Think about this. Every time you revise a setback, every time you return to your assumption of luck, you strengthen that state. You make it more real, more natural, more automatic. Over time, challenges become smaller, setbacks become stepping stones, and your confidence grows. The world mirrors your new state again and again. Let's bring this all together with a simple truth. Your reality is always reflecting what you most consistently accept as true about yourself and your life. Not what you wish, not what you hope, not what you try to make happen, but what you accept, what you assume, what you live in. The law of assumption is as reliable as gravity. It's always working, always responding to your inner state. Let me share something with you. The moment you decide to be the luckiest person in the world, to assume confidence, to expect favor, you set a new cause in motion. The effects may not appear instantly, but they must appear. The world has no choice. The law does not fail. Your only task is to remain faithful to your new assumption, to persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to live in the end. Consider this. Most people spend their lives trying to change the world, to fix circumstances, to persuade others. But the real power is within. The real change happens when you assume a new identity, when you accept a new truth, when you live from the end. The world is not your master. It's your mirror. Change the image you hold inside, and the reflection must change. Think about this. You're not waiting for luck, for confidence, for favor. You're deciding, you're assuming, you're being, and the world will always respond. Let's go even deeper into the heart of this teaching. There is a quiet power that comes from knowing reality is responding to you, not to your words, not to your wishes, but to your deepest assumptions, to your sense of self, to your inner feeling. That's why the moment you assume the state of being the luckiest person in the world, everything starts to look different, even before anything changes. You walk with a different rhythm. You carry an ease, a certainty, a confidence that cannot be faked and cannot be taken. You stop reacting to life and start directing it quietly from within. Let me share something with you. The world is always eavesdropping on your inner conversations. It listens to the story you tell yourself about who you are and what is possible for you. If you want a new world, start with a new conversation. Start with a new assumption. Start with a new feeling and remain faithful to it regardless of appearances. Here's what most people don't realize. The outer world is always the echo, never the voice. You are the voice. You are the cause. You are the authority. The moment you accept this, you move from powerless to powerful, from victim to creator, from doubter to knower. The world will rearrange itself to match your new tone. Let's look at the subtle ways your assumption colors every moment. The person who assumes confidence doesn't just act differently. They see differently. They notice opportunities others miss. They hear praise where others hear criticism. They expect things to work out, and so they do. It's not arrogance, it's certainty. It's not bravado, it's quiet knowing. Let me explain what's really happening. Your nervous system, your brain, your body, all respond to your assumption. When you feel lucky, when you feel confident, your posture changes. Your voice deepens. Your eyes brighten. People pick up on this, often without knowing why. They treat you as you treat yourself. The world becomes softer, kinder, more welcoming. Not because the world changed, but because your state changed. Consider this. The most powerful thing you can do is to assume the state you desire and persist in it, regardless of appearances. Not just once, but over and over until it becomes your new normal. The world will catch up. The evidence will arrive. The results will match your assumption. It cannot be otherwise. Let's make this practical. Every morning, before you start your day, take a few moments to assume the state of being the luckiest person in the world. Feel it, imagine it, walk in it, move through your day as if luck, confidence, and favor are your natural state. When challenges arise, and they will, pause, revise, and return to your assumption. Don't let the world tell you who you are. You tell the world. Here's what most people don't realize. This practice is simple, but it's not always easy. The world will try to pull you back into old stories, old doubts, old assumptions. But you have the authority. You have the power. You can return again and again to your chosen state. The more you do, the stronger it becomes. The world must reflect your persistence. Let me share something with you. You are not here to react to life. You are here to direct it. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the cause. The law of assumption is always operating. Make it work for you, not against you. Let me leave you with this. Test this in your own life. Don't take my word for it. Assume right now that you are the luckiest person in the world. Feel it. Live in it. Walk in it. Let the world show you what happens when you persist in this state. The evidence will come. The results will appear. The world will conform. Remain faithful to your assumption, and you will see, reality always reflects what you most consistently accept as true about yourself and your life.